Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Pesachim Daf Gimel, welcome all the new viewers, anybody that was mishtatev brand new today. Lili Nishmas Imi Mirasi Rusbas Mordechai. Today's shir is sponsored by Keith Reich for the yard side of my mother, Chana Chava Bat Avram Sheba. Also for our dear friend who's in the hospital, Yaakov Yehuda Ben Gittel. He's in the hospital asking about the shir, want to know what's going on, so in your tefillos. Special welcome to my very good friend Yitzi Weiss, who was with us throughout brachas and actually sponsored the brachas siyum. And like many, he's fallen off the bandwagon, and that's okay. You see, I like to think about it as you're on a train that's going in a loop. If you get on Pesachim Street, so you get off at Pesachim Street. You don't have to get on Dafka Brachas. Every day is a new sugya. Every day there's new musagim. Here's a chart I didn't show you yesterday. We're running out of time. But it's a famous saying, but it's very true. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. It doesn't really matter where you get on, where you get off. It's not about the outcome. It's about the process, because every single day we're learning new things, learning Torah, and that's what counts. I want to read some of the many emails that we received in the last 48 hours. This is from Rabbi Eliezer Kessler. He's a Rebbe in Houston, Texas. What a wonderful siyum. I owe Dera Kar Satoyi for pushing me to get others involved. I got my brother hooked in the beginning of Erevin and he stuck through it. He told me he was crying yesterday when he finished. That brought tears to my eyes. He's now trying to get our father involved. We will see. Thank you again for all that you do, Eliezer Kessler. Avi Mandelbaum from Moreshet. The pre-Shir Magid Shir. Science Phenom. Good morning. I just wanted to point out and welcome Joe Berry, who joined us in the middle of Erevin. Joe lives about 8 houses up the block from me. Today, Eli Fagan joined us. He lives about 6 minutes up the block in the other direction. Moreshet Eretz Yisrael. Both have been doing daf since the beginning of the cycle or before, but both have now joined us in MDY. Shem willing, with Pesachim, we'll have a group siyum also. Avi Mandelbaum. Are you related to Simi Mandelbaum from Chicago? Good morning from Simi. I've been following the daf with the Rebbe since brachas. Aside from being a great cheer clear with a good dose of lamdas, bikiyas, and ashkafa, lamdas. This is always the first in these emails. It is also entertaining and very engaging. As tired as I may be after a long day, rebellion makes it easy to turn on the shir. I've gotten to know many personalities in the shir and sometimes feel like I'm in RBS or several other countries around the world. I look forward to continuing this journey with the Olam with great admiration. Simi Mandelbaum, Chicago, Illinois. P.S. I would like a MDY car magnet. Yeshua's on it, right, Yeshua? Also, can you let me know if there's a group of MDY followers here in Chicago? Yes, there is. Aside from your father-in-law, he writes. Great. Michal Suk. I forgot where this guy lives. Some Yehupitzville place in America. Anybody remember? I don't remember. 25 years ago, I left yeshiva. Today, for the first time ever, I finished my first Masechta. Mazel tov, mazel tov. We hear this a lot. Baruch Hashem. Thank you for making learning a wonderful and truly fun experience. I cannot express my gratitude. I would also like to thank the MDY family for the unbelievably quick response when my Ritzua snapped in half. This is the guy that his Ritzua snapped, and the next day, he found the Ritzua in his mailbox. In only a few days, my tefillin sported, a few days. Pure new Ritzuas. Thank you all, and to Elchanan specifically. And to everyone, thank you for making my first team an international experience. It was wonderful to see so many Zoom and to enjoy such wonderful videos. Thank you for such a great experience. We all go from strength to strength and demon in our learning community. Kol Tov, Michal David. Dr. Asner, you did it again, making himself like Erevin a most inspiring, enjoyable learning experience with your outstanding, well-designed diagrams and amazing, well-explained charts. I'm looking forward to continue enjoying Pesachim to the same degree. You can be sure of the many Seder tables. We'll be enjoying all the various collections of beautiful insights. We're looking forward to listen and to take notes for a most meaningful Seder. Emir Hashem, I thank you all for everything. All right, we'll have to wait for a different day for the rest. Welcome And if you do fall behind, remember, it's very natural, it's normal. Just jump ahead and do the daf with everybody else. We're holding 2 lines from the bottom of Daf Beis, Amud Beis. The Mishnah starts saying, or le arbas, or boitkim chametz, you do b'digas chametz, and we know it to be the night before Pesach, but what does the word or mean? So the Gemara establishes that it means the night before. But in order to establish that, the Gemara goes through a whole bunch of hoops here, starting from, we had approximately this daf, the first daf, 10 different rayas, and here's raya number 10, all the way on the bottom of Beis, Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. Meisvei. The Kohen, Haya Oimed Kol Alayla, if he was standing the entire night, Umakriv al Mizbeach, and he's doing akrava, he's bringing the Murim on the Mizbeach, La'ira, so when day breaks, Tone, Kiddush Yadayim V'Raglayim. Similar, this is Machlokes, and the Mishnah Berurah brings it down. If you learn Mishnah Berurah from the beginning, you know the famous Machlokes, the Rosh and the Rashba. If you're up the whole night, you have to wash Negel Vaser again. Is it the night, the Tumah of the night, or is it because you touched Mekamis Mechusim? Similarly, over here it says that when day comes, you have to wash your hands again, your hands and your feet again. But what lashon does it use? Le'oira. Oira would seem daytime, not night. Says the Gemara Divrei Rebbe, Oira Shani. We're talking about the word Oir. Oira, Rebbe Yehuda would agree that it means day. Meisvei, Marzutra. Oh. So like the Gemara does many, many times, and that is it takes us on these wild journeys throughout Shas. And today we're going to have a number of different sugyas from out Shas, just to touch upon different things. Here's a sugya from Krisos, it's more like a Nida kind of sugya. And it goes like this. A woman who gives birth to a girl, she's tmeya for 14 days. Are you allowed this? She told me for 14 days. Goes to the mikvah. She has 66 freebies, 66 days of tahara. No matter what dam she sees, unless she gives birth, she is tar. What happens if she had a miscarriage? Oh, before that, on day 80, 14 plus 66, 80, that's it. So she has to bring a carbon on 81. What happens if she miscarriages during the 66 days? She does not have to bring a carbon. What kind of carbon? Depending on how wealthy she is. Let's just say she brings 2 birds. If she miscarries in the middle, the birds that she brings on the 81 are enough for whatever happened during this period. She doesn't have to bring another carbon. If she miscarries on day 81 and she didn't bring her carbon, she lives too far away, it's already day 81, 82, she didn't bring her carbon, she has a miscarriage. She cannot count on that 1 carbon that she had to bring from day 1 over here. She has to bring another carbon. Machlokes now in the Gemara is what happens if she miscarries on the night, 80 night, at the end of her tahira, before she's able to bring the carbon. You can only bring a carbon during the daytime. So what happens if she miscarried right before she was able to bring the carbon? It's already past the tahara days, but right before she's able to bring her carbon. 81, or to the 81. Hamapelis, or the Shmonim Tabadav Gimel Amud Aleph, Hamapelis, or the Shmonim Ve'echad, she had a miscarriage on 81. Beishamai Yoimrim. Beishamai Poitrim carbon. Beishamai say, no carbon. Why? Because she can't bring a carbon now anyways. If she wanted to bring a carbon for her birth that she had 80 days ago, she can't do it. It's night. So she could only wait until tomorrow. So tomorrow, let tomorrow's carbon be good enough for what happened the night before. So Beisil tell Beishamai, and this is the raya of the Gemara. So we need this word right here. Maishna or shmainim. Why is the night, or over here, or means night, of the 80 shmainim ve'echad, what is the difference between the night, like in the Jewish calendar, we start from the night. Rosh Chodesh starts at night, goes into the day. So why is it different? Why? What's this taina? What's their taina? At the end of the day, you agree to me that if she sees dam on day 81 or the night of 81, she's tummy. What happens if she sees dam right here, the end of this day, at night, after Shkia? Tmeya, it's not part of the freebies. So just because she can't bring a carbon, Doesn't mean it's not another day. It's the same day. It's day 81 already. So what's Beis Shammai going to tell them? So before we see what Beis Shammai says, but what's the raya here? They're using the word ar to describe the night of 81. So you see, ar means night. Fine. And Beis Shammai, Rashi explains, are going to answer them very well. Look, at the end of the day, if she miscarries in the middle of the 66 days, she's tmeya. That's dam tuma. And she can't bring a carbon. And the carbon that she brings afterwards is good enough. So there's no correlation between dam and carbon, say Beis Shammai. So would he bring me a raya about dam on night of 81 to bring a raya to the carbon? Okay, but that's not the point. That's a sugya for krisos. We touched upon it. We learned a little bit about it. The point is that the word ar means night. By the way, if today's your first daf, it's a fascinating daf. A beautiful daf with stories, things that we weren't used to in the last 4 months. Maises, finally, geschmack and maises that give us musar, teach us how to live. Maishno or shmoin v'echad miyom shmoin v'echad shmamino or urtuhu shmamino. So it's a perfect raya. Another great raya. We have about 5-6 rayas that night or means night. Meisvei, and here comes a sugya from Masechtes Zvachim. Yachal yenechal or l'shlishi shlamim. You know, carbon pesach is also sort of a shlamim, turns into a shlamim sometimes. Yachal yenechal or l'shlishi. So when you shech the carbon, how much different carbonis you could eat for different amount of times. So I would think that you could eat a shlamim or l'shlishi. So once again, or over here is referring to the night. V'dinu. Zvachim, meaning a carbon taida. Nechalim liyoym echad. You could only eat it for one day. So you shecht it, you eat it during the day and that night. Ushlamim nechalim shnei yom. Okay, so this one is 1 day, this one is 2 days. Shouldn't their halachas be the same minus the difference in days? One is 1 day, one is 2 days, but they should have the same halacha. A taida, you could eat it during the day, and you get to eat it during the night. So too, shlamim, you should be able to eat it for 2 days and 2 nights. Same thing, right? I don't even know why I printed this out. Fine. This word, ad yoim, if you add a little chaylim over here, it could turn into oid yoim, meaning when it's still day. So the Torah is telling us that no, shlamim is different. I can't eat it for 2 days and 2 nights. I could eat it for 2 days and 1 night. The following night, no, because it has to be oid yom, it has to be daylight still. But yoim unechal, v'nechal l'or shlishi. It's not eaten or shlishi, meaning the night, the second night, or the night of the 3rd day. In other words, or means night. So we have another great raya that or means night. Yachal yisar from let's just finish off this halacha. Maybe you think that you have to burn it immediately, v'dinu, and I have a kavachomer, zvachim nechalim liyoyim v'layla echad. A taida is only eaten for 1 day, 1 night. Ushlamim nechalim l'shnei yomim v'layla echad. Shlamim are eaten for 2 days and 1 night. Malal and take it l'achilas reifa. Just like taida, you have to burn it immediately after eating. Afkan, take it l'achilas reifa. Tam loymar v'hanoisar mebsar zevach bayoyim hashlishi v'yisharef. V'hanoisar ad yoyim hashlishi, whatever's left over up until the 3rd day. Ba'yisharef, you burn it afterwards. Bayoyim atasorev yatasorfer balayla. Okay, so you wait until the day. Midikamar yenechal or l'shlishi. So here's the raya. Since it says, I would think that you could eat it the 3rd or means night. Almar urtu shmamina, great raya. Tashma, we're going to be finished with these rayas soon, rabbis. Don't worry about it. And we're going to go into these beautiful geshmaka sugyas with stories. Tashma or shel Yom Kippur mispal sheva misvada. We're already lightening up over here. Yom Kippur, we're all familiar in Shemon Esrei, starting from Ma'ariv after Kol Nidre, that's Or Yom Kippurim, the night of Yom Kippur. So that's a raya that Or means night. Ma'ariv, Shachris, Mincha, Ne'ilah, all consist of 7 brachas. 3 in the beginning, 3 at the end, 1 in the middle, 7 brachas plus vidui. But the Gemara calls it Or Shel Yom HaKippurim, the night of Yom Kippur, meaning Ma'ariv, Mispal Sheva Misvada, 7 brachas and vidui. Shachris Mispal Sheva Misvada, 7 brachas and vidui. Musaf Mispal Sheva Misvada, and Musaf also, B'mincha Mispal Sheva Misvada, and in Mincha 7 and vidui. And he's sticking over here, the Gemara over there says, Ne'ilah, this is, by the way, a sugya in Yuma. So we did Krisus, Zvachim, and now Yuma. Ba'arvis, Mispal, Mein Shmoina, Asar. Very interesting halacha, Machlokes. What do you do, Ma'ariv? After Tkiyah Shofar, what do? We give the Olam a break, and you do something called Havinenu. It's a synopsis of the Shemona Esrei. It's a sikum. It's an 8-minute Shemona Esrei kind of thing. It's a short version of it. Why? Because people are hungry. They want to go home. That's what we do. What's that?
8-minute Shemona Esrei.
Compared to Yom Kippur, it's nothing. Yeah. The sikum of the Shemona Esrei. Anyway, Mispal Shemona Asr Shleimos, you do the regular Shemona Esrei, B'nei Shetzorach Loimer Havdalah B'chon Hadas. As we do, we say Havdalah in Ata Chaynein L'Adam Das, and that doesn't fit in well with Havinenu. But the bottom line is Alma Or Urtahu Shma Mino. Great raya that the word Or refers to the night. So Tashma. Now, why is it? Just to repeat what we said yesterday. Why are you calling night Or? That's called Loshen Saginar. The way they used to call a blind person was he had a lot of light. Saginar. He could see very well. It's a nice way of talking. It's not sarcasm. It's just a refined way of saying blind. You can't see at all. He could see a lot, and you understand from that he doesn't see. Night is not such a nice. It's dark, finster. So, Or. Okay. Toshma. The Tani Devei Shmuel, lately our Basar. When do you do B'dikas Chametz? Not like in our Mishnah, the Brisa uses a different word. Leile. So, in other words, you do B'dikas Chametz at night. It says Mefurish, Leil. So, when our Mishnah says Ar, we understand that it means Laila. Leile our Basar, B'dikas Chametz La'aner. Alma Ar, once again, a great raya that Ar means the night. Says the Gemara finally. After all this, a daf and a half. Elo bein Rav Huna bein Rav Yehuda the kuli alma or urtuhu. You should know everybody agrees that the word or means night. So there's no machlokes between Rav Yehuda and Rav Huna. Marki asrei umarki asrei. Everyone spoke their dialect, whatever it was, whatever the way they shmooze in their city. Basrei the Rav Huna karunagi. In the city of Rav Huna, they called night light. It was Lashon Saginar. Ubasrei the Rav Yehuda Karulaila. They called it the way it was, the way it is. Like we say night, we're not messing around, we don't do sarcasm. Night is night, day is day. But in Rav Huna's, they spoke more properly. And this leads us into a beautiful sugya of how one should speak properly and refined. Betani the dawn, my time elokatani lately. At the end of the day, if the Tana would say one word, Leil Arbas, or 3 letters, so Mesechtes Pesachim would start on Daf Gimel Amud Beis. We wouldn't have this whole Daf. So why choose a word Ar to teach us a very important lesson for life? My time elokatani lately, just say it straight out. The word Lishna Ma'al Yodinokat. The Tana wanted to say a refined way of saying night. Ukdir Bishul ben Levi, Domer Bishul ben Levi. La'ilam al yotzi adam davar megunim epiv. A person shouldn't say something not nice. It shouldn't come out of his mouth. Forget about curses and all these other things that we have today. Just instead of saying night, you say day. Use the appropriate word. Sharei ikem akasav shmoyne oisiyos v'loy haitzi davar megunim epiv. The famous pasuk in Parshas Noach, shenemar min behema tahira, instead of the Torah saying the behema umina behema hatmeya, the Torah says umina behema asher einena tahira. If you want to see how it looks visually, it could have said hatmeya, these 5 letters. Instead it says asher einena tahira. So what do we have extra? 8 letters. Nun nun hey, tes hey, vav resh hey, equals 8 extra letters that the Torah wrote just to say it in a nice, refined way. Instead of saying Tameya. Now, what's the question going to be on Amud Beis? Well, the Torah says the word Tameh at least 55 times in the Torah. Okay, so Rashi and the Rishonim discuss that, and they say, we'll just say it here. We need to teach you the concept when you can speak refined. Once you know the concept, now I'll spill it out. I'll say Tameh. Real quickly, I want to tell you a beautiful story that I heard recently. This idea of speaking and not speaking, it's not exactly this kind of idea, but the beautiful story, it's kedai to hear. There was a woman that had a shem dover. She was known as being a tough woman. And she used to take this bus in Eretz Yisrael from this city to every day. So one of her relatives asked her, can you please take this pretty nice amount of cash and bring it to the other city? She says, sure. I think it was about $5,000. She takes the $5,000, puts it in her, she had a traveling bag, puts it in her bag. She gets on the bus, and this Israeli bus driver says, that bag down there below the bus. So she's like, what? Look how small it is. No, and everybody's looking to tell the bus driver, and she's the type of woman that she sticks her to her ground. She's not going to do it. She's not going to leave the bus. But she says to herself, it's Erev Rosh Hashanah. I want to do something different. I'm not going to make a fuss. I'm not going to say a word. She got off the bus. And as soon as she got off the bus, her kishka started turning inside out. She couldn't believe that she just did this. She's so upset. She missed her bus. She's going to be late. But she said to herself, Rebbeinu Shalom, I controlled myself not to say something not nice to the bus driver. Give my son a shidduch. That night, she gets a phone call, a shidduch for her son. And it's not like the typical, like I have that book, we're coming out soon. And 9 months later, they had a boy. No. She got a shidduch. So she tells the shadchan, we just had that shidduch. We just spoke about that shidduch. And the girl didn't want. Says the shadchan, let me tell you. The reason why they didn't want is because you're a tough woman. You have a shem dover. You're not such a great shviger. But it happens to be that the girl's mother was on a bus this morning and she saw something different. And Memela, she wants the shidduch. All right, anyways, but the point is, Rabbi Isai, we got to watch the way we speak. It's very important. A whole sugi about this. Says the Gemara. Rav Papa Omar Teisha. No, the Torah actually went above and beyond with 9 letters. Person is tamei, carry. Instead of saying he's tamei, asher lo yeh tar. So once again, here it goes. It could have been 3 letters, tamei. Instead, it's asher. So the tamei and the asher wipe each other out, and they have lo yeh tar, which is 9 letters. Next. Ravinu Omar Eser. Oh, how do you spell tar? With a vav. So it's 10. Ravacha Barakiv Omar Sheshes Sreshin Omar Ki Omar Mikrehu Bilti Taharu Kiloi Tahar David. So again, it could have said Mikre Tamehu on top. Instead it says Mikre Hu Bilti. Excuse how it goes here. The Bilti goes on the next line. But this wipes out that. Okay, so it could have said Mikre Tamehu. So, but instead it says Mikre Hu Bilti Tar Hu Kiloi Tahar. What do you have? 16, 13, 14, 15, 16 extra letters. Yes.
What's the
Rav Papa is just saying, I understand that it says it in the Torah like this. So, but even if you want to say that you write tar differently, you could force it. You could take out the vav. It's still 9. It's not a machlokes. That's how it's written. It's written with the vav. He's right. It's 10. Just pointing out. Look, the Torah could have, even if you wanted to play games and say kri, ksiv, whatever, still have 9. I believe that's what they say on it. Tani the Rabbi Shmuel. Listen to this. Rabbi said, I couldn't find a better picture. A guy riding a horse. Yeah? That's how people ride horses. That's merkav. One leg on this side, one. That's not sneeze for a woman. How does a woman ride a horse? Like this. Don't worry, I put a thing on her face. Can't really tell. So, 2 feet on this side of the horse. That's sneeze. So instead of saying the word merkav, which means to ride, she's sitting. Okay. It says in the pasuk, should choose wise words. Another pasuk, 2 psukim. The words from my lips should be clear, should be refined. Milelu, speaking. Why do you need 2 psukim? Maybe the Torah, Baruch Hu, speaks refined. But us humans, the Rabbanon, the rabbis themselves, the Rabbanon, loy. That's one pasuk. So maybe the Chashiv Rabbanim, they speak refined. But I'm just a contractor, I'm just a regular guy, so maybe I could speak unrefined. Second pasuk. What? In the whole Torah, you can't find a pasuk that says that a woman rides a horse. She rode ala gemalim. Says the Gemara, the Torah is talking refined because that's the way camel's so high up that it's scary that a woman also rides it like a man. It says Moshe took his wife, talking about a woman, and they rode. And now we turn to Daf Gimel Amud Beis. Hasam Mishum Banav Urchohu. If I can only find my, here we go. So we just turned to Gimel Amud Beis. Mishum Banav Urchu. The pasuk is referring to the sons. You're right. His wife was also there, but the sons. We just turned to Daf Gimel Amud Beis. Sponsor Lili Nishmas Rucham Chayev Fruma Aleh Shalom Bas Rav Doiv Pinchas and Rabbi Chil Shraga ben Avram Alevi. Second sponsor is the famous Kalman from the 5 towns, Lili Nishmas Menachem Mendel ben Simcha. And the third sponsor is by the Fine and Pearl families in Schos of a Refuah Shlema for Donnie Pearl's mother-in-law, Mindel Elko Bas Edel. So there's a story where Abigail's husband, Naval, was married b'malchus. He didn't treat David HaMelech so well, and David HaMelech decided he's going to kill him. So Abigail went to save her husband, and she actually saved him. She told David HaMelech, you weren't king yet. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you weren't the king yet. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was mamlech you weren't the king yet. And David HaMelech was happy that he saved her, that she saved her husband. He said, oh, you're right. He doesn't deserve to die. But it turns out that Naval at the end got a heart attack, died, and David HaMelech married Abigail. She's a very special woman. But it says, again, she was on the donkey. So says the Gemara, Hassam, the reason is because again, once again, if a woman is frightened because of the night, so it's proper for her to write it like that. No, that's not so proper. She was so scared of what David is going to say, and he's going to say, no, I'm going to kill your husband, etc. So she wrote it like that, and for that it's proper, and the Torah could say it. No, forget that. The Navi describes she's going up the mountains, so that's scary, and that therefore she rides it like the normal way, like a man. At the end of the day, the Torah doesn't say the word tameh. Many times, I found 57, it might be different, but there's a lot of time. When it's the exact same words, the Torah will choose the concise way. If the proper words are more, then the Torah uses the word tameh. I said all these things. So first of all, the Ran goes into each, but the point was, we want to bring out the point. You should speak b'lashon nekiyah. Once we know that, then we will talk in a more concise way, even if it's not naki. This is the first plug and commercial for the Imin Daf in the Masechta. Yishna Adam leTalmidoi derech tzara. I'm sorry, anybody on YouTube, I apologize. The Zoom just went down for whatever reason. Not exactly sure why. So we're going to have to go back on Zoom real quickly. Let's see what happened. Somebody ended the meeting. Maybe a Zoom bomber. Who knows? Was it ended for everybody? But the problem is I can't unmute. Who's the host? Oh, it does. Okay, I'm unmuted. Shkar Gary, Rabbi Sai, Gary Ben Moshe did a wonderful job. He's a little upset that we didn't give him enough covet before the shir. So now is our time to recognize the unbelievable job that Gary Ben Moshe did by the Siyum. He does every day. What happened?
One more word, you're muted also.
Wow, scary guy. Just remind me occasionally, I'm just talking not to you. Rabbi, just remind me occasionally to do the right thing and to... Okay, I'm not going to say anything. Okay, Lo'ilam yishne odam l'talmidoi derech... Nothing to do with you. Okay. No, I didn't think for a second. Chashom, I wasn't choshed you. It was just a joke. Gary, I was just joking around. I was kidding around. There was nothing to do. So when you have exact letters, the Torah always uses the most refined way. The word recheves is not so refined. Yisheves is nicer, like the picture of the woman on the horse. It does say recheves. Recheves ksiv, without a vav, it doesn't have a vav, so it's actually 4 letters versus 5. Story time, Rabbi Isai. Hanu trei talmidei dav yasvi kamei Rav. Not like the stories that we had in Erevin. Oh, there was once a mavui, and that was the end of the story. The mavui was 26 amma minus 3, and we'd say good asik, and then but the other one wanted to say good achis. Okay, so that was the end of the story. Over here is a real gishmak story. They were both sitting, the Aviyasvi came in the Rav. They're both sitting in front of the Rav. Chad Omar, one of the Talmidim said, Shvetinan hai shmaito kedover acher, misankon. Misankon is a lotion of being tired. I'm learning so much that I feel like a pig, like a dover acher. We call it PIG. Fine. Not a nice thing to say. Not a nice mashal. V'chad Omar shvisinon hai shmaito kigdi misankon. Okay, I'm like a tired goat. A lot better. Says the Gemara, Rav wouldn't speak, I don't know for how long, maybe forever, with that Talmud that used a PIG as a mashal. There were 2 Talmidim that was sitting in front of Hillel. So over here you could see, for the rest of Shas, that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was a Talmud of Hillel. So it's either Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai and another Talmud. Some say the story, it was Rabbi Yochanan, but not Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, different Rabbi Yochanan. The famous Rabbi Yochanan, the Galadar in Eretz Yisrael. This whole story didn't happen in front of the Hillel, it happened with Rebbe, the author of the Mishnayos. Rabbi Yochanan, and one of the Talmidim was Rabbi Yochanan. So here you see that Rabbi Yochanan, the Galadar in Eretz Yisrael, was a Talmud of Rebbe. If you didn't know that, here it is. So this is the most favorite sugya in Shas, mentioned who knows how many times. The idea of hechsher l'tumah. So anytime you have a fruit, if you want it to be, if you want to make it able to become tamei, it has to touch one of the 7 liquids. You have to sprinkle one of the water, blood, dew, honey, wine, oil, whatever it is. We're talking about 2 out of the 7 mashkim, wine and oil. So it says, he asked the question, why is it when you harvest grapes, you can't use, let's say, some sort of tang, a kli, that is tamei? Because that tang will make the grape juice on the outside of the grape tamei, and the grape will become tamei. Because grape juice is considered a liquid, one of the liquids that is machshir the grape to be mikabel tumah. So don't use any tamei kli. Ve'ein moiskim b'tahara. However, when it comes to olives, the moisture that comes out of the olive, the moil that comes out, is not olive oil. And that is not a liquid that is machshir l'kabel tumah. What's the difference, he asked. But he used the nice refined language. He said, he used the word tahar instead of the word tamei. And the other Talmud, not Rabbi Yochanan, why do you harvest the grapes with kalim that are tar? And he used not such a refined. So he didn't get punished. But Rebbe or Hillel said, Omar, I'm certain that this Talmud, whether it's Rabbi Yochanan, who later on became Galadar, or Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai the Galadar, this Talmud is going to become something special because he used the refined language. In fact, that's what happened. Says the Gemara, there were 3 Kohanim sitting around. Imagine if Bezer Hashem, the Beis HaMikdash comes and will be zoicha to have from the lechem upon him. We would say the same thing to each other. Did you hear? I tasted the lechem upon him. What did you get? I got this much. And what did you get? I got that much. So one of the Kohanim said, my lechem aponim portion was the size of a bean. Chad Omar Higianik is larger, the size of an olive. V'chad Omar Higianik is navelatah. What's navel? The tail of a lizard. You know what a lizard is? A lizard is one of the shmoyne shrotzim, right over here. It's not just another animal. It's a sheretz. It defines tumah, disgusting, sheretz. Ugh. So why do you have to use such a lashon to compare lechem aponim to lizard, to sheretz? Badku achrov. So they did a little investigation. Umatzu boy shemetz psul. They found that he's not a real kohen. He's more like a chalal. It's some avodah zarah. The Rabbeinu Chanal says the Gemara of Atanya, ain't baitim in mizbeach l'mala. Once a kohen performs avodah in the Beis HaMikdash, you don't check if he has yichus or not. He's a pure kohen. Why are you checking this guy out? So the Gemara, you're right. Right now, we realize that he's a balgaiva. He has something wrong with him. We didn't go back to his yichus. He calls it. You don't check a regular kohen. You don't know if he has yichus. Once he performed the vayda, he's a good kohen. But this guy, he ruined it for himself. Once he spoke like this, we had to check into it. Says the Gemara, one of the very, very famous stories in Shas. There was a guy that illegally he got a hold of carbon Pesach in Yerushalayim. Omar, and he started boasting, Siv, kol ben eicha lo yochal boy, you can't give carbon Pesach to a stranger. Kol ora lo yochal boy, you can't give carbon Pesach. Oral, Smila should not eat from the carbon Pesach. Vano, and look at me. I'm eating from the top cut. Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira told him, because Safulach Malya, Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira was brilliant, and he decided to trick him. He said, what are you saying? You got the top cut. You didn't get the aliyah, you didn't get the tail. Since they didn't give you the tail, you're worthless. I'm saying, because Safulach Malya, did they give you the tail? I didn't get. I need you to go back to the Beis HaMikdash and say, give me some tail. So he goes back to the Beis HaMikdash, give me some tail. When we're learning this in Zvachim, the Aliyah, in those days, they even have sheep till this very day. The tail was very long and fat, and used to drag on the floor. They did something, I think, genetics, that they changed it a little bit. But anyways, the aliyah was a nice fatty piece of meat. So he goes, I want an aliyah. Omrlei, aliyah legevaya salka. You don't deserve any of that. That goes on the mizbeach. Omrlei, mana malachachi. Who told you to ask for it? Omrlu, Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseir. Omru, my hayde, come on. We got to look into this because something doesn't jive here. Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseir would never say something against the halacha. Tell somebody to go eat a tail that everybody knows that it goes on the mizbeach. We got to check into this. They realized he's Armenian and they killed him. He stole from the Korban Pesach, Misa, whatever the reason is. This is a very, very famous line. You'll hear it in different drushes. Shalom loch Rabbi Yehuda ben Meseira. Da'at ben Netzivin, you should have peace. You are standing in a place called Netzivin, u'mitzudascha, and your net, prusa b'Yerushalayim, your chachma, trapped this guy all the way in Yerushalayim. Says the Gemara, Rav Kahana Cholash. Rav Kahana, the famous Rav Kahana, got sick. Shadru Rabbanon Rabbi Yeshua Berei Ravidi, they sent Rabbi Yeshua Berei Ravidi to check on him to see how is he doing. So he gets there. Amrulei Zil B'Doik Madina. What's going on with him? Also, he got there. Ashkechei Denoch Nafshei. They told him as soon as he arrived, Rav Kahana was nifter. Kairi Lelevusha, he did kriya. V'hadri lekari la'achayr, and he tossed the kriya to the back. Ubachi, and he was crying. V'asi, and he arrived. Amrulei, they realized, why is he crying? I mean, you can't see the kriya; it's on his back. But they realized, Amrulei Noch Nafshei. Well, he died. Amrlehu, I know I came mina. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say such words coming out of my mouth. Umoitzi dibo, when you talk like that, uksil. You're considered a shaita. We don't speak like that. Says the Gemara, Yochanan Chakakah, Nofak Likriyasa. He went out. Kiyasa Amrulei, Chita Nasi Yafais. What happened to your wheat? Are they good? Amrlahen, Soirim Nasi Yafais. My barley is good. In other words, no. Says the Gemara, Amrulei, Tseir Vaser Lasusim Lachamorim. You're talking horse talk here. Who eats barley? Horses. Says the Gemara, my Havalele Meimar. Again, he wanted to talk refined, but it didn't come out well. So what should have he said? He should have said, last year I had really good wheat. Inami, Adashim Nasu Yafais. Adashim, lentils, that's human food. It's consumed by humans. So you should have said, you asked me about wheat, my lentils are really good. And then the Olam would chap that his wheat is a little shvach this year. Rabbi Sai, thanks for joining, and we'll see you Be'ezer Hashem tomorrow, Pesachim Daf Dal, and have a wonderful day. Shira Ma'alois, Mimama Kim Kosicha Adonai. Noam, I saw your brother-in-law on before. I've never seen him on. David Dombrowski. He's on today? Shalom Aleichem. Welcome. He disappeared from my screen. I saw him on the screen and then I didn't see him. Rabbi Yosef Kessler, is that your brother that wrote the email?
No.
Different Kessler. I think we might have gone through this once before.
We learned with my son Benjamin Kessler and Eliezer Kessler.
Ah. Where do you live?
About you.
Where do you live, Rabbi Yosef?
In Telstone.
Ah, beautiful. Telstone. Next to, what's his name? New. Steve. Right, he just got a hat. The whole Zach, yeah, Steve. Right. Rabbi said, don't be shy, you could all schmooze.
Very nice, thank you.
Thank you. I got a hat, yes I did. It was a little touch and go. I think I owe you some money because I need my kids had to have a hat. So I heard we're on to the second production. Is that true?
Yeah.
How many hats in the first production?
It was 100.
Come on, 100 hats. What's 100 hats?
In my trunk, another 80 got delivered yesterday.
What, from the second production? So Sachakol, how many hats did you do?
But it's 180 right now.
180. You're going with the Jewish numbers. 180.
Wow, amazing. 131 on Zoom. My workers are working well.
But
I
we
hope
have another
everyone
order
can
for 50.
more numbers with all their new friends.
Ellie, your first advertisement for the 8 minute act was the semester Yom Kippur you were saying was 8 minutes.
Yeah, but that the Gemara didn't really say. I just stuck that in. Over here, the Gemara says, "Lo yimshana adam b'lashon tzara." Yeah. Arya, don't get too excited that they gave you those rights, and then therefore you could just schmooze it up whenever you want. It doesn't work like that. They took it away already. Okay.
Gary was late, so he was upset.
He was getting back, that's why he shut down the Zoom.
That never happened. That the Zoom shut down in the middle like that. There's always something new. Always something new. He pushed the wrong button and he says he did whatever. Oh, Yvei, no, I'm kidding, Gary. I'm kidding. He's listening still.
I was about to go back to YouTube.
Gary shut me down, I don't know. He got upset with me.
It's the something. Once he comes to Zoom, there's no going back.
The Zoom something.
My Zoom said that I had to upgrade, so I upgrade.
Yeah, I got that too.
So just the chat, please.
I didn't get that.
It was just nice to see who's actually listening to the share who just logged in.
Ellie, can we see the people then?